Chapter 14. I have set up an appointment with Alex up in Pottstown. He will order a top for you. He will call you when it comes in. It will be basic black to keep the cost down. It will be manual, but you are young and agile. You can climb back and lift it up and down. It's easier if you have two people to take each side, informed Uncle Bart. You do not have an inspection sticker yet, but put your tag on and go up 724 and over to Linfield. I don't think anybody will bother you. If you get stopped, tell them it's a complete restoration and you have an appointment for inspection. Sounds like a plan. Did he say what it would cost? Asked his nephew. He figured $185. That's within what I have set aside for it. We are getting this thing done. It will soon be May, and that is top-down season. I want to be ready. We're almost there. I think we can get you through the inspection without much problem. You might need a front-end alignment. I have the equipment to do that. You can go over it and make sure all the lights work. Check the brake lights and backup lights as well as turn signals. Those wires were on the original car. Good point. I will have Clem watch the lights as I turn them all on. Now, before you take the convertible top frame up to Alex, spray each joint with silicone lubricant and then work it up and down so everything moves smoothly. I don't know if that would be good to do with the canvas top installed, cautioned the mechanic. Yeah, that might hurt the canvas somehow. It would be best not to take a chance, agreed Jerry. Another thing that came to me is the visors. You are going to need visors. Your dash is red. Your front seat is black. Eventually, you might get lucky and find some red ones. But for now, you can get by with some black ones, said Bart. Now, the ones in the Phoenixville car are light blue. Some guys try to paint them. However, I think they would probably start to flake with people grabbing them. Do you have a large felt tip marker around your house? I believe we do, answered the boy. A black one. Well, take down the visors and go over them with the black marker. You might have to do it twice to get them completely covered, but that should get you some visors. Also, make sure to save the screws. I will make them black. Thanks for the idea, said Jerry. Very good. How are you making out with Gina? Is she getting to know you better? It's okay, I guess. I overheard her talking to Blanche. Blanche is her best friend. She was telling her how much she was looking forward to going out to Morris Park with Rocco this Saturday. It's an amusement park out past Lebanon. Evidently, she is a roller coaster enthusiast. It's kind of hard to get in tight with her when she's totally focused on that goofball, related the boy sadly. Just be consistently a good guy. You never know about relationships, especially with young people. Things happen. You will be in a position if she gets tired or fed up with Xanax, Uncle Bart assured him. I'm trying. Always be polite and have a good joke to keep her laughing. Girls like to have a good time. Keep an eye out for what makes her happy. I'll do that, said Jerry, feeling a little more hopeful. There are some things I said that she thought were funny. I'll have to work on that. Any comedian will not get a strike every time. Just monitor the audience's response. See what works. And there are two parts to storytelling, subject matter and delivery. Keep both in mind as you are developing your presentation. As I said before, you have to entertain and inform. If she has a problem, she will want to talk about it. And if you don't have a clue to the answer, the action of her describing it to you and asking questions may help her find her way. And if it is something that you are absolutely certain you know the answer to, don't tell her. Stretch it out. Ask more questions. Tumble it around. The more you talk, the better off you are. And it will be better if she feels her brain has a good part of the solution. Thank you, Uncle Bart. Thank you. I'll work on that. With his tag screwed on and the insurance papers in the glove box, Jerry carefully pulled out onto Route 724. The car ran smoothly as he accelerated up the Bridge Street light, and after that work, he was finally on the road. The warm spring air felt good blowing through his hair. When he rolled down to Parkerford, he pulled on his turn signal and listened to the happy click of the dash. He turned right and drove over the river into Linfield. From there he wormed his way across country behind the Limerick airport. Eventually he entered Ridge Pike and cruised on up to Pottstown. The convertible top shop was across from the hospital on a side lane off Firestone Drive. A dude walking along the street yelled something that was not understandable, and he waved his thumb up. My first compliment, thought Jerry as he pulled into the installer. Mighty nice Nova, greeted Alex as he stepped forward to look over Jerry's car. Mighty nice. Thank you. I'm finally finishing it up. Yeah, your uncle told me about what you started with. This is quite an accomplishment. I figure we'll have you done in about 3 hours. It should look really sharp. I haven't done a box Nova in a while. It will be like old times, said the craftsman. Very good. I'm going to walk up to the library. Be back in 3. Jerry headed up the alley that led to West High Street. Pottstown was known as a center for classic cars and hot rods. He thought about bringing his car up for nostalgia night, where the downtown streets were blocked off and filled with restored cars of all types. It was an interesting turn of events. Uncle Bart had related how there was a constant battle between the Pottstown Police Department and the cruisers, who would rotate between a drive-in restaurant in Stowe called the Tropical Treat and a hamburger stand in town called Gino's. The war started in the 50s and ran through the 1970s. Now, in order to bring tourists and shoppers back into town, the town government sponsored a huge car show. It was comical to see a bunch of hoodlums, all with gray hair, driving street rods to attend the event. They were the only ones rich enough to afford these custom overpowered works of art. Where cruisers used to get tickets for loud pipes, prizes were given out now for superior racket making. As he passed the Hill School, he considered the many famous world leaders who had gotten their start in those old classic buildings. It was late afternoon when Jerry was cruising down Route 724 on his return trip back to the garage. The new top smelled like a new top. His car was mostly complete. He was going to start college in a few weeks. Everything was coming together. There was one more goal he had in mind. He wanted to ask Gina to go on a date with him. If she agreed to go, he will know he had won her interest. He had done thorough calculations of his savings along with money his parents had put away in a college fund, plus some money they had raised by selling some timber to a lumber mill from their 12-acre lot. That made his schooling possible without taking on any loans. Uncle Bart was down on loans. Loans have a way of creeping up on you. When you put in a week's work, you want to take your pay and enjoy it any way you want. That is your reward for working hard. When you do not have any debt, you always know where you are, he had warned. The only exception was a home mortgage. That was okay because a house goes up in value. To get a head start on school, he was going to start Kutztown with the summer session in June. He was looking forward to it. He was signed up for a health class, a psychology class, and a business math class. This last one at the nudging of Uncle Bart. Beginning early would enable him to adjust to the college scene in a more loose form, with the campus being quieter and the pace less hectic. He had already exchanged letters with his roommate Barry. The guy seemed to be an easygoing math whiz from Reading. Barry's interest in old cars was limited to an ancient Volkswagen that he transported himself in. He did talk about a lot of on-the-spot repairs that were part of his travels. At least they could share diagnosis skills. The world was opening up for him. He felt comfortable because he had a great amount of practical living knowledge. He did not possess all the answers, but he knew how to approach problems. And he knew who to ask if no answers were available. Uncle Bart had given him a solid foundation in operations. He could see the value of knowledge. He appreciated efficiency in production. Any job will have a higher yield if done in the most efficient manner. And looking around the world, there were a huge amount of possible goals. You could look them all over and choose the ones with the highest yield. You could invest time, energy, materials in a project. Which ones will bring you the best tomorrow? It was all simple enough, but he had observed that most people did not take this viewpoint, and as a result, they did not live the best lives that they could. It was a shame, but he could only take care of himself. Okay, I have some time this afternoon with no repairs scheduled. It would be a good time to get your convert inspected. Clem will back out my truck, and you can pull in, announced Uncle Bart. All right, I'm ready. I got the right backup light working. I changed the bulb, and that didn't fix it. So I scraped the metal to get it ground. That didn't solve it. So I cut the socket out of the Phoenixville car and soldered the wires in, and that fixed it, related Jerry. After the maneuvers were complete, they began the process of checking all the many systems that made a car safe. Jerry tapped on the horn button and then pulled on the light switch. High beams, called Clem. Low beams. Jerry stomped on the fat floor button. Parking lights. Jerry pushed the switch in halfway. Lights are good, called Bart from the back. Now hit the brakes. Brake lights are good. The boy turned the key to accessory and flipped the left turn signal. Next he flipped it right. Turn signals in back are good. What do you have up front? Both are good, responded Clem. Turn on your wipers, instructed the mechanic. The wipers flicked back and forth. Okay, Jerry. Slide the lift pads under the frame and lift it to get the wheels 2 inches off the floor. After hooking the lift arms to the proper location, the boy pushed the valve to the up position. This started the compressor pounding away, which forced fluid down a pipe deep under the floor and caused the car to rise. Bart slipped a 30-inch bar under the front right tire and lifted it. He did not hear a clunk, which told him the ball joint was not worn. He then put his hand on the tire and rocked it side to side. It had no play, which indicated that the tire rod end was solid. After doing the same procedure to the left front wheel, he motioned up with his thumb. Jerry pulled the handle again, and the car continued its upward movement. Clem slipped a big pin in the center of shaft. Bart and Clem checked the depth of the tire tread. Using an air-powered lug wrench, Clem unwound the 5 bolts holding the wheel. The tire bounced as it hit the floor. He tapped the brake drum with a hammer. It shook loose. How's the back? Yelled Bart. Shoes are 80%, answered Clem. Cups are solid, no leaks. Fronts are about 70. Exhaust is solid, returned Clem. The 2 men put the wheels back on. Jerry lowered the car back to the ground. Clem pulled the handbrake out. It stopped at 3/4 travel.